Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream out to Facebook and on YouTube, so if you are joining us from either of those places and you have a question or a comment, please feel free to leave it down below. Hopefully I'll be able to address any of that as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can address anything individually for you. But let's get started here with our alert. We are on alert overnight tonight. We have this cold front that's going to be moving through, and that's going to bring in this batch of showers and thunderstorms, a few of which may become strong to severe. We have that potential for mainly some damaging winds, but you can't even rule out that chance for a spin-up tornado. Now, looking at any watches, we don't have any watches across the tri-state as of right now. We haven't really seen any watches being issued at all throughout the day today, aside from out in the southern plains in the Oklahoma area. But in terms of what we're seeing out there right now here in the tri-state, not a whole lot going on. We've got some lighter, patchy areas of showers now beginning to move in to areas of southern Illinois, but nothing really convective or stormy just yet. There has been quite a few thunderstorms off to our northwest up towards St. Louis and northeast of there up towards Effingham as well. There were a couple of warnings already, but as far as here in the tri-state, we don't really have any watches or warnings just yet, but we are still expecting these storms to move through overnight tonight. So plenty of opportunity to still catch a couple of warnings out there. But looking at our overall storm risk, this has been upgraded compared to yesterday. This was upgraded earlier today. It has brought that level 1 isolated risk to include pretty much the entirety of the tri-state here. But the thinking is, as these showers and storms roll in from the west, they'll start off on the stronger side, but they should be weakening as they push eastward. So that's why you kind of trend on the general thunderstorm side once you get out towards the Louisville area. Just the ingredients aren't as ripe as you go farther to the east. Now, as we transition into tomorrow morning, there is still that isolated threat of a severe thunderstorm, but that's all going to be associated with the storms moving in overnight. So I know we're outlooked on 2 different days, but because it's an overnight threat, the SPC kind of has to split those days with those threats. So that's why it's kind of a little weird of a setup, but that overnight tonight is the first alert that we are tracking. And again, we're tracking out that risk for an isolated damaging wind gust, and you can't completely rule out that chance for an isolated tornado as well. If we do see any tornadoes, they would likely be very, very brief and fairly weak. We don't have really the setup for super strong thunderstorms to begin with, but let alone any tornado potential there. But it is very, very low, essentially a non-zero threat is what we call that. But looking at the timing of everything here, over the next couple of hours, we'll start to see some of that shower activity pick up in coverage. So again, maybe not seeing any of those thunderstorms just yet. I think the better chances for those thunderstorms are going to arrive later on into the overnight hours by around midnight here in the Evansville area and continuing to push off to the east through around 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then we should be cleared or at least dried out of here by mid-morning tomorrow. So looking at our storm risks, again, we're not expecting widespread severe weather. It's going to be an isolated risk. So, every thunderstorm we get tonight, it's not like it's going to have a warning with it, but we do have that potential for an isolated damaging wind gust, maybe even some areas of localized flooding, depending on how heavy those showers are, but that seems to be our lowest threat of the night. And then, of course, we have that spin-up tornado risk as well. Now, as you're all watching this, I'm sure many of you are wondering if I'm going to be able to go to bed tonight, you yourselves, if you're going to be able to go to bed. And I think you should be just fine going to bed as normal, but I do think it's important to learn how to receive those warnings. You don't want to depend on storm sirens. They are designed to be heard outdoors and may not be loud enough to be heard indoors. So what you want to do is, before you go to bed tonight, you want to make sure you turn your ringer on. You want to make sure that you have a way to receive warnings. If you have the 14 First Alert weather app, it is a great tool to receive warnings on. You have to set that up to receive that push notification. And if you have a NOAA weather radio with an alarm tone and a battery backup, just in case a warning is issued, you'll get woken up and you'll know what to do. But I don't think you need to be staying or laying awake in anticipation for, the sky to fall down on us. I don't think it's really that kind of setup. But just to be safe, have a way to receive a warning. And if you don't know how to turn on the warnings for your 14 First Alert weather app, I can actually show you right now and take this full screen. If you haven't downloaded it, you can scan that QR code, but if you already have it, you want to go and find the top 3 bars in the top right corner. You want to click on that and it'll bring up this drop down menu. That's where you'll see that settings button, and that'll bring you to this page where you'll notice 14 First Alerts. If that is toggled off, you want to make sure you turn that on and it turns that green color. Now the second step you want to do is go right below that where you see weather notification types. Once you click that, if you see all of these green bars kind of faded out a little bit, that means you don't have your notifications enabled for your location. So in order to do that, you want to click follow me and those 3 right dots on the right, and then you want to hit enable notifications, and that will enable notifications for any location that you are currently at. So it doesn't even have to be within the tri-state. You could be on vacation somewhere and you'll still get notifications from our app with those settings. Now, another important thing is, now that it's an overnight threat, again, you want to make sure you're awake or can be woken up by a warning. So you want to turn on those notification sounds. And remember, no sound will play if your phone is set to vibrate or do not disturb. So that's why I recommend you all just keep your ringers on. In the event a warning is issued, you'll be woken up for that warning. So that is kind of the gist on that threat through the overnight hours, specifically the severe thunderstorm threat. So let me go ahead and check out some of the comments. Good evening, Emma. People asking where Jeff is. He's around. He's kind of watching things on the back burner, but we're all going to be in and out of here if needed throughout the night. It sure is windy. Yes, it is, and I'm going to talk about that pretty quickly here. Really windy on the west side of Princeton. Yeah, we are on or at least we have a wind advisory in effect through 3 a.m. We have the potential to see wind gusts of up to 45 miles per hour, and that's outside of any thunderstorm wind gusts. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about wind. Really windy in the Jasper and Huntingburg area are expecting it to be really bad, and where we need to stay up. No, I don't think you need to stay up in anticipation, but remember to turn on those notifications and have your alarm set in the event that you are placed under a warning, you'll get woken up by it. Emma says she's got her weather radio on tonight. Don't want to miss any alerts. That is the right way to go about this, Emma. So again, you don't need to lay in the wake in anxious or anticipation of, the worst severe weather event ever. Again, it's a pretty low-end severe weather risk, but we could catch a few warnings here. There may be a few tornado warnings. You can't completely rule that out. So that's why we just want you guys to stay safe, and the best way to do that is making sure that you have those notifications turned on. Of course, I'll also be here over the next several hours, and then Byron will also be here overnight with me as well. But outside of the severe weather threat tonight, we do have that wind advisory. A lot of people were talking about it. We have gusts up to 40, maybe even 45 miles per hour in some locations through the rest of the night out ahead of this frontal boundary. Right now, the strongest wind gusts we're seeing are in Sturgis. They're out of the north at around 35 miles per hour, but most of the winds will be coming up out of the south here as those storms begin to roll in. And again, pretty gusty through the overnight until around 3 a.m., and then it looks like those winds will start to ease up through tomorrow morning. Still a bit breezy, gust up to 20 miles per hour, but that wind direction will change as well. So temperatures will likely be warmer for the start of the day than they will be for the end of the day. So here's a look at our future radar. So again, we cleared out of all those storms overnight tonight. Again, I think the best threat is going to be between 10 o'clock tonight and around 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's when I think it'll start in our west here in southern Illinois and completely clear out of here to our east during that time frame. I think here in the Evansville metro area around midnight, 1 o'clock, is probably when we're going to see those storms begin to roll through. But then once all of that clears out tomorrow morning, we may actually dry out and even see a little glimmer of sun before those clouds fill back in. Through the afternoon, we'll have another area of low pressure pass to our south, and that may lift up a few light rain showers, but really not expecting much out of that. and then a trough will swing through early Saturday morning. We'll hold on to the chance for a few sprinkles for the first part of the day on Saturday, but then we should be drying out through Saturday afternoon and into Sunday. But you'll notice it gets a lot cooler out there. Temperatures go from the lower 60s tomorrow, or even the upper 60s today, all the way down into the mid 30s by the time we get into Sunday. So another cool down there, more roller coaster ride of temperatures. But let me go ahead and take this 7-day full screen so that you guys can get a better look at it. But again, we're on alert overnight tonight, and we do have that potential for an isolated severe thunderstorm, mainly for the potential for damaging winds, but there is that isolated spin-up tornado risk. So I want to make sure everybody's got those alerts turned on their phone. In the event you are placed under a warning, you'll get woken up and you can take care of that. But once we clear out of those storms, overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, we'll be left mostly dry through Friday afternoon. Some more rain begins to lift up overnight Friday and into early Saturday morning, mainly over western Kentucky. And then we should dry out through the second half of the weekend and into the start of the work week, starting to warm back up to around average into the 40s by Monday, and then above average again by the time we get into Tuesday, topping out in the lower 50s. And then it looks like we've got another cool down into the 30s by the time we get into Thursday of next week. So that is all I've got here for the forecast. It looks like I've seen another person ask about how to turn on those push notifications. You can scroll back into the live. I already went over it, but you can rewatch that portion. I just talked about it maybe a few minutes ago, so I want you to make sure that you've got that squared away. But I don't want to keep everybody on here to go over that again. So that is all I've got for the stream here. So I'm going to hop off the live and I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Of course, until then, everybody stay safe and have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.